Welcome back to the Layman's Law School, where we take real-life legal dramas and break them down for you so that you can understand them in simple terms. And today we have got a case that's a little closer to home than we've been talking about lately.
Much closer to home for me.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a girl down in Carrollton County, Georgia, who has been accused of murdering her parents. And so we're going to kind of go through... there's a lot. It's blowing up on TikTok. Yeah. And so we got it. It caught our attention. And she was just arrested this week. And so we thought, what a fresh case to bring to you guys today. But first.
Always. Chase is here. I hate the
Friday,
Sean's not here to complain about the Bud Light, but I still get to hear Chase complain.
Everybody needs vacation.
And Lindsay.
Yeah, old Shawnee's missing out today.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not. He's probably laid back with a high noon on a beach.
This is the type of case, especially if it goes to trial, which hopefully it won't, but if it does, this is the type of case that he'll have plenty of opportunities to talk about.
That's true. Cheers, everybody. Yeah. Happy Friday. Did you miss that?
How'd that one treat you, Chase?
Oh.
Good?
No. No, not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Great.
And the antithesis is good. No.
I mean, look, in the spirit of talking about a case that's in Georgia, just, embrace it.
Yeah.
That's good old boy beer.
It is fun to have a closer to home case.
Or good old girl beer, however you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But as y'all might not know, I went to undergrad in Carrollton. And so I know the area very well. Obviously, it's not a big town. And still have a lot of friends and folks that I talk to on a regular basis over there. So when this kind of came across our desk, I thought it was a good topic to talk about and see what's going on.
Yeah, so we're in Augusta, and so this is about 3.5 hours away from us where this happened, west of Atlanta. Is it Tyree?
Yeah, no, I think it's on the border of Georgia and Alabama.
Basically, you take I-20 all the way until 5 miles from Alabama.
There you go. All right. It. Well, since it is a relatively, breaking news case, if you will, I wanted to go ahead first and kind of go through the timeline of the events. Yeah. There might be people watching that haven't even, you haven't even heard about it yet. And so... basically, there was a teenage girl who's accused of murder. This has happened 5 months after her mother and stepfather were found shot to death in their home. The twist? Well, she's been posting on TikTok about the case and even has asked some true crime creators to help solve the case of her parents' murder. Her name is Sarah Grace Patrick. She's 17. She's being tried as an adult. And this case is about to test everything from Georgia's juvenile law to the boundaries of social media and self-incrimination. After scouring the internet on the comments of people, you know how I love to do that in my research, I've comprised a list of questions that I felt came from the questions that people were asking and not unsure about of how this would work. And so I put that list together to give to you guys today.
Sure.
But first, let's run through the timeline of the events that have happened. So on February 20th, 2025, in the early morning hours, the younger sister of Sarah Grace Patrick, she was 5 years old at the time, she actually discovered the bodies of Kristen Brock, 41, and the stepfather, James Brock, 45, in their bedroom in Tyus, Carroll County, Georgia. Both victims had suffered from fatal gunshot wounds. Now, Sarah, 16 at the time, called 911 to report the deaths. From February up until this month, it's been an ongoing investigation. Authorities have launched an investigation that involved local and federal agencies, including the FBI and Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They've collected extensive physical and digital evidence, to which they've stated they have mountains of evidence that they've acquired. During that period, Sarah reportedly lived with various relatives and maintains an active presence on social media platforms, specifically TikTok. If you want to see TikTok videos that are actually from her page has been taken down. But someone has actually duplicated her posts. Not all of them, but some of the more questionable videos that people are discussing. And that's, we'll put that up on the screen for you so you can find that if you want to dig in a little bit more to that. And so basically what's happened now is warrants were put up for her arrest, and she voluntarily turned herself in to the Carroll County Jail after being informed of her arrest warrants. And she went, her biological father actually went with her to turn herself in. Mm-hmm. So she's being charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault, and is expected to be tried as an adult. Post-arrest developments would be that, again, they've said they have a mountain of evidence against her. A motive hasn't yet been determined, at least not as of the time that we're recording this. And officials indicate that additional arrests are possible because they're looking for the potential involvement of other individuals. So the case has garnered significant attention from TikTok. You've gone down a TikTok rabbit hole, I'm sure. I went further.
I went a little bit.
Usually Dorit's the one who's down at TikTok finding all this stuff, but
I just saw that,
there's stuff left and right. There's people coming out that are claiming, oh, I knew her, I was her friend, let me tell you what's really going on. And so there's so much of that out there that I think some of these questions we're going to talk about today will help kind of shape things up from the legal side. We try not to speculate too much on this show, except it obviously comes into play sometimes because we're an unscripted podcast and things come up that I personally, being the non-lawyer at the table, I tend to have a lot of speculation type of comments.
Well, I speculate as well. And like I said, we don't have all the evidence in, obviously, but from what we do have in, as a prosecutor's son and knowing the situation a little bit from people that I know in the area, you never say you have a mountain of evidence. That's very strange to come out and just say that we got all. So that tells me that there's some just damning evidence. If they say that, if the prosecution is saying that at the time of arrest,
if they're that confident.
Yeah, usually you don't come full bore like that. You kind of keep it under wraps, keep it under your hat. But for me. That tells me that you have a lot of forensic evidence, meaning cell phone data. This is a teenager, a girl. She's got a boyfriend. It takes some time to get that stuff off the phone. She thinks she deleted it and it's gone forever. It's not. It probably took some while to get that, that kind of stuff. But that's going to be the mountain, I think. Because if you think about it, it can't be DNA. It can't be fingerprints. It can't be stuff like that.
Because they would have already had her.
It would already be it would already be in the house. She lives in the house, so it's already going to be contaminated with her DNA, all the things. Okay. So it's got to be something else. So that's just my theory, and I do have a couple little tidbits on the phone that I do know that we might get into a little later.
Oh yeah, that's right. Stay tuned because Reed has some insider info.
I don't know about that
from Carroll County to bring to you. So let's start with this question. Why did it take so long for them to arrest her? This was something that came up multiple times on chats or comments where people were like, wait a minute, why are they just now arresting her if they have mountains of evidence? Going back to when you're claiming that, then what do you say? The first thing I think is, well, the reason they have mountains is because they took a little time to get some, right?
Yeah, well, it does take time to do everything. When it comes to, doing the forensics that are required, this is not the only murder case in the state of Georgia. Right. And there's limited resources when it comes to the GBI, to the FBI, to the local police, and there are capabilities that the local police don't have that the GBI has, and the capabilities that the FBI has that GBI doesn't have. And if you're having to actually refer this up to the FBI to do some level of forensics, whether it's on a cell phone or whether it's DNA evidence that you don't have the capability of doing locally, that process takes a long time. And in part in this case, because she was so active on social media, they already exactly. Well, they already had an inkling that this was the direction that they were going. But we've already seen what happens when investigators jump to a conclusion about a particular suspect in the Karen Reed trial, and they eliminate any other avenue or any other area where they should investigate, right? And what happens there is if you do that, then you ignore relevant evidence that could point to somebody else. And then that hurts the overall investigation. And it sounds like in this particular case that they bided their time. They actually collected the evidence that they were supposed to. They've got a mountain of it that they did not jump to conclusions. They actually collected a lot and then made a decision about which direction to go, which is important. And they sat by and watched this young lady put a lot of information out there. So
that's kind of, Chase, I was going to kind of talk about that. Like I said, my dad's had cases that went unsolved and the murder and all this other stuff. And I talked to him about that years ago. And like you're saying, is you don't push it or rush it because what you have is not enough. And generally, especially with a person like this who is extremely active on social media, giving speeches at the funerals and all these other things, you're essentially letting the person hang themselves. So there's really kind of three reasons. You hit on two of them. It takes time to get the forensic stuff. You're going to get more evidence as she goes along. And the third one is very key. If you take the circumstances in totality, if this was, a profession or a lifetime criminal or somebody that's running around all over or had a violent history, then you may, charge them a little earlier because they could hurt somebody else.
Right.
This person is not a flight risk. They're not going anywhere. They think they've gotten away with it. They're not going to hurt anyone else. So they're just, if she was if there was a chance she was going to hurt somebody or she was going to run, they would have arrested her earlier. But they just kind of said, all right, we got to wait on these phone records and DNA tests and all this other stuff. She keeps posting, let her keep posting.
Yeah.
And she's not going anywhere. We got tabs on her.
Right.
That's how I view it. If it was more of a, like I said, situation where you had a violent criminal that is a potential to not be there tomorrow, this could have been done a lot earlier.
Well, you got Diddy. I mean, if you think about him, he had the means to flee.
Yeah.
He had millions of dollars. There's allegations that he's engaged in organized crime and racketeering, that he had been violent definitely in the past when it comes to women, violent when it comes to, there had been allegations that he had blown up cars. Yeah. And so that's the reason why he got arrested and put in jail and not given. That's right. Not gotten out. Yeah. Right. Not given bail because he could take off. And this was a 17-year-old girl without means, living in a rural, relatively rural town in Georgia. And she was, like I said, she's not a criminal mastermind, not a
that we know of. That we know of.
Yeah, well, she's innocent until proven guilty.
Correct.
So
yeah. But I would think too, before you go and accuse a 17-year-old girl who looks like she's pure, her appearance alone makes her look very innocent and pure, et cetera. Yeah. Like before you go and put some handcuffs on her, you're going to make sure that you've dotted your
and Carrollton's not a tiny town. It's not like where I'm from, but it is not a big town either, and everybody knows everybody. And you do this, and it's not right. Well, you ruin that person's life. And that person didn't even deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
you can't do that kind of stuff. So you have to be a little bit more cautious. And I applaud the Carroll County Police Department and Sheriff and everybody else for handling it this way. I think they did it correctly.
Waiting until they had what they needed. Yeah. So you eliminate other avenues, and that's the other suspects, other means, other motives that may have come up. So
So we're talking about her being 17. So this is a great segue into, her being tried as an adult. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when she's 18, she's considered an adult, but we're right here at that toe in that line. And so what does that mean? Like, shouldn't she be in juvenile court? Like, yeah. And if she does, like, will she go to jail with other grown women if she gets convicted? Like, what does that mean? Particularly for Georgia, which isn't it nice to be able to talk about?
Yeah, I actually know some of these laws
that we
instead of the
Commonwealth.
Well, we can call it a state instead of a Commonwealth, which is fun. But, in 17 in Georgia, you're an adult. You're going to get tried as an adult. There is, and it changes on the year. Well, it changes on the year on how you can, how many years you could ask for parole, that kind of stuff if you're convicted. So there's different kind of situations like that. Now, when you're talking about where is this person going to be housed, it kind of is not relevant in this situation because she's already 17. But I did think it was interesting that Amy's law, which was a 2006 law that it was enacted in Georgia, kind of talks about this. And the purpose of the Amy's law is if you are convicted of a crime as a juvenile, they'll keep you in juvenile detention until 21 because they don't want to put you in with violent criminals and that kind of stuff. It's more for trying to rehabilitate versus, a lot of times people go to prison and they come out and they say, look, that's where I learned it all. That's where I learned it all there. Yeah. So that's the point of that case or that law. But the interesting thing, and I thought that law became a law because in April 2004, 8-year-old Amy Yates was murdered in Carrollton, Georgia by a 12-year-old boy. And the 12-year-old boy was convicted, and they were going to put him in with the grown folks in prison. Wow. And that was kind of, that brought outrage. As bad as that 12-year-old messed up, he's not going to survive in an adult prison. So that was the point of the law. Yeah. But for this situation, and also you have other things where if not just housing, but when you're tried, if you have a violent crime like this is, generally you're going to be tried as an adult. There was also a House bill in 2023 that passed but failed in the Senate too. Georgia's only one of 3 states that 18 is not the adult age. 17 is. I think Texas and one more. But the House bill proposed that it went to 18, but it still said if it's a violent crime, you'll be tried as an adult.
Yeah.
So, but that failed in the Senate, and that was about a year or 2 ago. So anyway, basically all that to say, she's 17 in the eyes of the law. She's 45.
She can be tried as an adult, but she does still benefit from Amy's law.
Yeah.
I said she'll be kept separate from.
I don't know about that.
I think she does.
I don't think she will. I don't
Yeah.
think she does. I don't. I looked into that, and I don't think she's going to benefit that because now there is an issue with her that with the act being done at 16.
Right.
I'm not sure about that, but I think. Because Amy's law is not automatic either. It's judge's discretion.
Yeah.
I think the argument's going to be made that it doesn't apply to her, and I don't think they're going to give her that benefit. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. So listeners, let us know in the comments what you think about, Georgia having 17, like that you're an adult and can be tried.
Chase, do you know the other Texas and one more? I don't remember.
I don't know the other state.
Yeah, there's 3 states. We're one of 3, but I don't.
Well,
remember
I'd be
the other
interested
one.
to know if the viewers and listeners, do you think that's fair? Or do you think it should be changed since it's not an across the board all over the country rule?
If
So
you can't be
like,
drafted at 17, you shouldn't be.
What do you think? Yeah.
Well, I'll give you another example. Unfortunately, this is way close to home. When I was a freshman in high school, a friend of mine shot and killed her dad. And so she was tried as an adult, even though she was, I think 15. She served a life sentence. Did she shoot him
point blank? I mean, it was pretty...
He was sitting on the couch. Yes, she came up behind him.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying. A heinous crime like this, even if the law was you're not an adult till you're 21, you're going to be tried as an adult if you do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just going to happen.
Well, and what most people don't realize is like when you say a life sentence, and that means different things in different states.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you can serve 25 years and get out on a life sentence.
The person I was talking about is out right now.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to call her name. She did her time and did everything,
Right.
But,
you're not going to tell them she sent you a Facebook request.
She did serve 25 years, but she's out now. I think that's interesting too and it also depends on the time period, right? So if you got a life sentence and prior to 1995, you were eligible. That doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you're eligible for parole after 7 years.
Yeah.
If you did the crime between 1995 and 2006, the crime that I'm talking about happened in, then you're eligible 14 years after.
Wow, okay.
So, and now, after July 1st, 2006, if you get a life sentence, you're only eligible after 30 years. So, it is a different ball game than it was, just a few years ago.
Goodness. Well, we mentioned earlier how she was very active on TikTok. And so a lot of the videos that you keep seeing people like reshare and things like that right now are where she's, grieving essentially. It appears
hypothetically,
right? Hypothetically, but she's crying. She's reacting in a way that probably maybe would seem like a natural grieving process. Everybody grieves differently. Not judging how anybody grieves.
And that's a good point, Lindsay. It's like that's 100% right. It's like you don't know, you can't look at the way somebody's handling a tragedy and get any kind. I don't care who you are and what you think. You cannot base guilt on how somebody reacts to that. You cannot. Some people will go blank face.
Well, you shouldn't.
Some people,
yeah.
Well, I just don't think it's a good.
You shouldn't. But then TikTok is. I mean, things can go viral on TikTok much quicker than they can anywhere else. Sure. And so when people latch on to something,
this is different in the fact that if the person did it, then absolutely you can look at the way they were.
Yeah.
I'm saying just in general, people grieve in crazy
different ways.
Crazy ways.
Well, I'll share a personal anecdote to that. Since we're talking about teenage and such. But so when I was a teenager, my high school boyfriend was killed in a car accident. And when you talk about how people grieve differently, one of the things that I really had trouble not riding by the cemetery because it was right by our high school without stopping and like at his grave almost, I mean, for weeks and weeks after school had started after he passed away. And of course, what happens is that teenage kids, oh, she's just trying to get attention.
Right.
She's just trying to get attention. Right. And I'm like, no, I really just want to be left alone, like to grieve, right? Exactly. And so 100% I agree with what you're saying. And I'm probably the first to defend somebody when someone's grieving and they're like, well, this seems kind of weird. And I'm like, you don't know a thing about what that person, how they're processing.
Sure.
And so for this, I've seen some of her videos. You think about the fact that a 16-year-old, this was something that one of the videos I sent y'all with prep. It was they interviewed a former, I think, crime scene investigator. It was on a long crime clip that I sent y'all. And basically she was talking about is how the brain has not developed, until I think it's 21 or maybe past that. But if you think about this brain of a 16-year-old, whether she, her parents are dead for whatever reason, that all these things, these crime, like this to me doesn't seem like anything different than how a teenager would react to grief in that way, except that now teenagers have this platform to go out there because TikTok, of anything, celebrates authenticity and like being real and being yourself. So where else would you not feel comfortable to go on a platform like TikTok and have mascara running down your face or, be sad and talk about, how your parents aren't going to see you graduate. This isn't necessarily those types of videos. I guess my point I'm getting at, I don't think that's going to be their smoking gun.
No.
That's not going to be their mountains of evidence they have on her because those aren't really, that's not telling enough, in my opinion.
But Chase, like, what do you think about all that, what Lindsay just said, all those videos? Yes, it's not the mountain of evidence, but how do you use that if you're the prosecutor? What do you think? What are you doing with it?
Yeah. What I'm doing with that is, if I have a mountain of evidence that she did this, and then she's going on there and trying to get a bunch of sympathy, it shows that you can't trust anything that person says. It shows that this person is kind of off when it comes mentally, in that like not only am I going to do this, but I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm going sympathy. To try to gain sympathy, and I'm going to try and gain clout, and I'm going to try to gain attention from something that, like, I'm from murdering two people, and then acting like you're some sort of victim. That's how I would use that if I were the prosecutor. I haven't seen all of the videos that she posted. There may be some level. So basically, I was just on the defense team. That's what you're saying? I'm just saying if I were I haven't seen all the videos, so I don't know that she posted. I don't know if any of them show consciousness of guilt, because there is a thing where, you've heard it 1,000 times, the Miranda rights. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court, right? Well, that counts for everything that she posted, right? Yep. So if she's somehow showing consciousness of guilt when it comes to what she posted, of course the prosecution can use that in their case in chief. But I think for the most part, it's going to be used to show that this is a remorseless, merciless person that doesn't really care about...
Trying to get TikTok famous.
Exactly. Trying to get TikTok famous off of murdering her stepfather and mother. So
and one more thing on that. I don't think that this case is going to go for that. But if you were going for capital punishment, if you're going for the death penalty, that's the kind of evidence you have to show. Is not only did they do the crime,
they remorseless.
They no remorse, trying to take advantage of it. It's intentional. It's plotting. It's planning. It's not in the heat of the moment. Like it's you're not really getting the death penalty for something that if me and you got into a fight and you killed me, you're not getting the death penalty. No. But if you sat over there and drew up a whole plan how to get me,
right,
you probably will. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's interesting too. As an extension of what we're talking about here, is because she reached out to a true crime TikTok account, allegedly reportedly, and was like, asked her to look into her parents' murder. And this, at the time, of course, person, she's like, of course I wanted to help her. And, and now that person is sharing like all this information, and they're like, what? Did she just got arrested? Like, I was helping her, like, try and solve this case. And so that, to me,
that's
just piles on.
Clue number one, she's not a criminal mastermind.
Well,
right there.
Yeah. She's 17-year-old or 16-year-old. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, again, I think, not to speculate too much, but we talked about before we started all these TikTok videos, but one in particular was that I came across, and I'm not going to share who it is because there's like a million of them out there. They're all going to say different things. Mm-hmm. But this particular person said they had been friends with Sarah Grace at school and was trying to, I think it was really hard to tell whether they were defending her or just trying to like clear up some facts. Mm-hmm. But one of the things they did mention was that she had been sent off to mental facilities. And when she came back, she was better and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, well, somebody probably wants to talk to you or you know, if that's, but again, is that just, we never know with TikTok, right? Especially when it's these other people's accounts. And so.
Yeah, I think they have a lot more than just her being, like when it comes, they'll have forensics when it comes to her cell phone. I think that teenagers nowadays,
it's glued to their hands.
Glued to their hands, number one. Number two, it's something that they use in order to try and get information that might help them do anything. And
we've learned Google searches.
Yeah, don't go away.
That was my question, Chase. So what was the phrase in the Karen
House
case?
long to die in the cold.
Well, this case, some of this case is going to revolve around a search of how to delete timing off of a pacemaker.
Ooh, is that some of that insider info?
I mean, it's just information I heard on the rumor mill, but
yeah.
So I assume her stepdad had a pacemaker.
Stepdad did have a pacemaker, and so if you're, and we were talking about why the delay. You don't get that immediately. Obviously, this girl deleted it off her phone, but as we know, like we just talked about, that doesn't mean it's gone forever.
Oh wait. So I don't want you to just throw that away. So this girl that didn't wake up to 5 gunshots in her house and investigate what was going on and relied on the 5-year-old in the home to figure out. Right.
Clue number 2.
Clue number 2, right? Searched how to change the timing on a pacemaker.
Yeah.
Before the murder occurred.
No.
After.
Right
it was
after.
Right
after.
From
my understanding.
Okay. So yeah, that is what we call the definition of incriminating.
That's probably right at the top of that mountain.
Here's the question with that. Like, there's some things, like the Karen Reed thing with how long to die, blah, blah, blah. You can make an argument that, yes, I'm trying to see what happened. There's no other argument for this one. Like, there's no, there's no like, oh, well, I meant to say this, or I did it at this time, or this is what I was thinking. There's no, I can't think of one. I don't, that one is pretty rough. And, and she's got a boyfriend, and, I know he's been arrested a couple of times, and so there's all kind of different possibility.
Unrelated.
Completely unrelated.
Unrelated.
Absolutely. And I think
if it was a week before.
I think if he was in the conspiracy of this with the evidence they have, he probably would have already been arrested. But at the same time, I believe there's going to be some text message between the two. And I think those text messages were deleted.
Be revealed.
And they're going to come out. That's just my belief because I know how teenagers are. Yeah. And if you do something like that where you're wrong or right, your adrenaline is through the roof.
Well,
you want to talk to somebody. Yeah, you want to tell somebody. This is what even if you're feeling remorse at that moment or happy or something. Yeah. She wrote something on that phone. Guaranteed.
There's some quote, and I'm not going to be able to remember it right now, but it's like something about like why would you expect people to not tell your secrets when you yourself didn't keep the secret, right? Like when you told somebody else your secret and then you got mad because they went and told somebody else and they're well, you didn't keep your own secret. There's a quote or something about that I've always found interesting, and it kind of goes back to that. Like it's very unlikely that this 17-year-old girl committed this crime and didn't tell a soul about it. I don't see how a 16, 17-year-old girl does that unless there's some serious narcissism, psychopathic type of tendencies going on, sociopath, those type of things, which have not been obviously
secrets and gossip.
Speculation.
Secrets and gossip are curcurity.
Yeah,
and we're seeing that now on the Epstein list, aren't we?
Yeah,
or lack thereof.
Yeah, and if you give a 16-year-old millions and millions of dollars out of the blue, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be Lamborghinis bought. They're going to be whatever. Yeah. So they can't help but do it. So like if she's got a big secret, I'd be surprised if there's some incriminating evidence on that phone that doesn't amount to like a mountain of evidence that they're talking about.
And some of that you can, and like we're speculating, obviously, but some of that, what you're talking about, Chase,
we'll start giving a speculation alert at the bottom of the screen.
Exactly.
We can speculate. We can speculate.
Speculate alert.
But if you're posting as much and trying to garnish attention as much as she did after the fact, then on publicly, the odds that you didn't say something privately are almost zero.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I agree 100%. There's something. It might not be a total admission on the text, but it's going to be something like, I did it. And that's another thing.
Or,
are we looking for prior things? Like, are we planning this? Was this something that was a week in advance? Where'd the gun come from? How did we get the gun? Did we plan that?
Yeah, where? I mean, I don't know if they even found the gun.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything like about it. Because then the question becomes, of course, like,
what happened to the
where's
gun?
the gun? Was it already in the house?
Yeah.
Did somebody bring it in the house? You know.
I mean, talk like the death penalty stuff, and I don't think this is going to happen in this case. But if you had a mountain of evidence showing plotting and planning and all that stuff, that's one thing that could arise to that. But then the flip side of that, you talk about motive, Lindsay. What is the motive in this thing? Well, you know, anytime you have a step parent in the home,
that's what. I was going to ask you that. Historically, like these types of cases, what do they start looking for? What are the most common motives?
That's number one. Is a step parent in the home and looking for abuse. I think it is 100 times more than any other. Right. Is it 100, Chase? Is
that's
that right?
100 times more than any other factor. Is like if you have a step parent in the home, it's more likely that 100 times more likely that there
drinking,
will be
drugs, anything,
all that that there will be physical abuse towards a child.
Oh my gosh!
And I want to make it real clear.
I have, as a person who's had step parents,
great.
I feel really lucky. Then, oh my gosh, that is a really scary stat.
Yeah.
But I want to make it real clear. We are not saying that occurred.
No,
I'm just saying that's what you look for to start. If you're going, what happened? And if you know that, and they are pretty confident that this girl did it, okay, well then why? And another thing to make a clear point on is you don't have to have a motive to be convicted. Yeah. People just like it. The jury just wants it.
Because people want to understand why something happened.
So, you know, from the case in my childhood, it was race. It was dad didn't like the girl dating a different race. And then so she did what she did, right? And this could be money. She's about to graduate or just did graduate high school. She might want money. It could be, you know, if something did happen in the house where the stepdad was abusing her, it may be revenge.
And the mother for not doing anything.
And I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that's what you look for.
And I guess the hard part, though, when you have, like, so the stepfather is dead. I mean, how do you even find evidence of that?
Yeah.
I guess.
Or defend yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd be very surprised because just of how heinous the crime is and the lack of defenses that you're going to have. And if it's not true, let's say this guy's the best person, because all I read about the two deceased are that they are awesome and good family, Christian people, and do the right thing and all this stuff. So I'm not trying to throw anything on them. But if you're a person who would kill somebody like this in cold blood, then even if it didn't happen, you'll lie and say it did. I predict that is coming real soon. It's coming real soon.
She may lie about it.
Even I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's going to be a defense. You watch. It's going to come up.
Yeah.
Let's just read Sanders' theory.
That's all. All right. We'll see if you're a prognosticator.
Well, hey, it's kind of like what you guys talk about. We've talked about this before with even personal injury cases where it's like your social media can kind of can make or break you in some cases, right? Where it's like, you know, if they're already diving into a bunch of digital evidence, I would assume they're also going to dive into like the parent's social media as well. Hers is probably not the only thing under a microscope. And so when you start to look at some of that, you might, I don't know, might find some.
Yeah, if you're complaining
about some things.
Yeah, if you're complaining about back pain, but then posting your silver medal in a CrossFit competition, then you know you're gonna have some problems.
Yeah. Well, you think about so say she does come forward. Speculation alert. If she does come forward and say that she was being abused, then the investigators are going to go through every single picture they can find of him and her together.
Absolutely.
Right? And they're gonna scrutinize every single one, every conversation, text message, whatever it is. And so if she decides to lie about it, I imagine that that might not work out her way either. And if it is true, then again, this is so hard, like with this kind of case, because it's.
I'm just saying this. I think that's going to come up. I just do.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, I just think that's going to be. If you got nothing, she's going to say. Whether right.
It's just going to happen. And here's the thing: even if she does, it doesn't mean she's going free.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's mitigation.
So, all it is mitigation. All it is, hey, I should not be charged with murder. I should be charged with manslaughter because manslaughter refers to, a variety of things. But one of them is when you're overwhelmed by the heat of the moment, the passion that's going on or whatever. Yeah. And there's been many a case where that has
dropped their charges.
They've dropped the charges from homicide to manslaughter because of that. And so then that's something that would lower the actual sentencing guidelines. So,
and one thing, Chase, that same thing is you could also make the argument that if that did occur in the home, that you felt trapped and this was your only way out. Right. That's the defense's argument. That's what that's going to be. But like you said, Chase, it doesn't change the fact that
you still kill people. You can't do that. It doesn't matter.
It just changes what the recourse is after it happens. Mm-hmm. That's all.
So I had a question that I put a mark on my paper earlier. But so she was charged with 2 counts of murder, I get. But then she was also charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault. Mm-hmm. They did. Like, I don't understand.
No, it's just, if you're still assaulting them. It just happened to result in
a lesser.
I guess maybe
a lesser included offense.
Yeah, I guess I've just never maybe noticed that. Well, other times that's happened.
Let's put it to Karen Reed, right? The lesser included was DUI, right? There's a lesser included. She was a bunch of stuff.
OUI.
Yeah.
Or OUI. I'm sorry, Commonwealth. Don't come at me.
Don't worry, they're not watching anymore since we're not talking about
her. They're over it.
We might have. I don't know. We might have some true fans that really liked us for us.
Yeah.
But that is interesting though. That what you said because, and here's why I think it's interesting is because you generally, you don't, if you have that mountain of evidence, you generally, now you'll still do aggravated assault, but you're not going to have all the other charges, right? So it's not going to be a gun charge or, there could be 15 different charges, right? But they're going to be way less. And so one of the reasons that prosecutors do that is because if you have all those other things, juries kind of just pick the middle. Right? And so, you're giving them way too much.
So you give them one or two.
If you don't have a lot of evidence, then the prosecutor's going to give you a lot. Right? But if you got a mountain of evidence, they're not giving you anything except these heinous. That's it.
Okay. So the last thing I'm going to ask before we wrap things up is with all this, we talk. I've said a couple times how TikTok, once something's there and it starts going, it's just it's out there. Although her TikTok account was removed or taken down, paused, made inactive, whatever it is. But now there's a copycat account, that has some of her stuff. There's tons of accounts that are just resharing and reposting. I mean, if you're a defense attorney, is there any way that you can request for this to be suppressed, removed, whatever, and like try and get a handle on this? Or is it kind of like... I mean, what's the difference between freedom of speech and...
I think once it's out there, you're pretty much done. You're not getting it off the internet. Once it's out there, it's not coming down. And then because it's not coming down, you're the rule against party opponent for hearsay is going to be apply. And that so like any person that's party to the case, in other words, that they're being charged with the crime, they're suing or they're defending being sued. If they make a statement out there that's outside of court, it can be brought in, if it's relevant to the case. And her statements are relevant. If that's her, she's making the statements. I don't care if it's a copycat account. I don't care if it's whatever, where they get it from. It's going to be relevant to show if it shows consciousness of guilt, manipulation. But
you can always authenticate it.
Yeah,
it's her.
Yeah.
But outside of that, if it happens to you and you put something on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, and somebody steals it, you can get it off. And Chase is talking about like there are legal actions. In this case, there's just too many. You're not going to be able to do it all. Yeah. But if it happened to you in a less public action, let's say just one person was doing it to you, right? You can file an act that is called the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. I think it was 96 or 98. I'm not sure. But you can have a copyright infringement report, and you can send that to the entity, whether it be TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Take it down. Yeah.
But this one, like, okay, you do that, right? Then there's another one. And then there's another one. Yeah. And then there's another one.
And
then there's
that,
another one.
And not only that, the prosecution downloads it.
That's what I'm saying. It's too late. It's too late.
They've already got it.
For the case, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, they've already got it.
But if you're out there and somebody's causing you problems with it, you do have an action. It's just not going to help you in court.
No.
Yep.
It's too late.
Too late.
Well,
what else we got, Lens?
That's it. I mean, I'm interested to see where this goes. Yeah. I think...
it's a tragedy all around. These two people are dead.
Do you think it'll make it to trial then?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think that good defense attorneys are going to get on her side, and they're going to do what good defense attorneys do, and that is
make a plea deal.
Well, no, they make sure justice is done. So they make sure the person isn't charged with overcharge,
right?
And charged with things that
like this, for example, Chase. Yeah. If I'm bringing the death penalty, right? Then you're the defense attorney.
The prosecution bring the death penalty, and let's just say hypothetically that there was allegations of abuse, and she's got some sort of evidence of that happening, right? And that there's evidence that there's a crime of passion. Well, that's more of a manslaughter charge than it is a murder charge, where she's like, this isn't going to happen to me again. And my mother didn't do anything about it, and my stepdad's the one doing it, right? And I'm not letting this happen again. There was a famous case in South Carolina where a woman was being physically abused by her husband, and she just said, can you please not abuse me during Christmas, right? And her husband said, yeah, no problem. And then on Christmas Day, he said, Christmas is over.
What?
And then went to sleep on the couch, and she shot him that night.
I mean,
well, so she was afraid. He had been put her in the hospital twice from that physical abuse, and so those things are mitigating. And so, like, a good defense attorney is going to be able to take the evidence that he has, what he can prove, and try to convince the prosecution to plead to something that will not, if there are these mitigating factors, stunt the rehabilitation of a young woman if she's done this, or if she's completely innocent. Yeah, prove that she's innocent despite whatever evidence there is out there.
If she's innocent, there'll be a trial.
Yeah, for sure.
And like you said, Chase, I agree. It depends on the circumstances. And Lindsay, I think you brought it up earlier. I don't know if this is true. You don't either. But if she has mental problems, well, that's a mitigating factor. It just is. So you're going to have all kind of stuff like that, and then you're going to try to work on a plea deal that is agreed to by the prosecutor and the defense attorney, and you present it to the judge, and he can or she can either accept it or not. Yeah. If you go in with an open plea, right, then the judge is he or her can just do whatever they want to, right? And then this is not the way it's supposed to work, but this is the way it does work. If you go to trial and lose, you're getting max. Yeah. You're getting max.
Yeah. You're getting worse.
And that is not what the law says is supposed to happen. But in the real world we live in, that's is what happens. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to be a bummer right there, but that is what happens.
I mean, way to end the show on such a downer.
Which is why we try and convince our clients when it's to their benefit to accept the plea deal, because just the excessive risk to it. But we will keep our eye on this, and we will revisit it as the case moves forward and as evidence actually comes out. And
we might revisit it, maybe.
Yeah. If you got any questions about it, let us know.
Yeah, I think we probably should revisit it when Sean is back. Yeah. I feel like he'll have an interesting
perspective. And once the evidence comes back, then I think, we can really dive into, is this going to be a plea? Is this a trial? What
are the next steps?
Or is somebody else going to be involved? Right. Are we talking to another party that's going to flip on this girl? All this stuff's about to happen.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks for watching the Layman's Law School. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can be notified when our next episode hits. We're trying to cook up some new topics for you, but if you have any ideas, we'd love to hear them in the comments.
Unless it's from the Commonwealth.
Unless it's from the Commonwealth. Thanks for watching.